Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Today's show has been all about voting, and my next guest, they work to make changes in the justice system to fight for transformation, even when it comes to voting. Sylvester Jackson is a community organizer for Expo, and David Liners, he is the director of Wisdom, a grassroots organization which works to have a common voice on issues of social justice. How are you, gentlemen?
How are you doing, Ms. Williams?
Thank you both for being here. And I want to give you an opportunity to quickly explain to the viewers at home exactly what your organizations do. So starting with Expo.
Well, Expo, which stands for EX-Incarcerated People Organizing, it's an organization that was founded by former incarcerated individuals who, after being time in the system, come out and decided that they will participate for change. They will fight for change for those who still there. And pretty much Expo, we fight for prison reform to make sure that, like one of our campaigns right now, Unlock the Vote, which we're pushing to mimic states like Florida to allow people coming out of the prison system the right to vote. Seeing that we're paying taxes and, like every citizen, then, individuals coming out of the prison system should have the right to say who represent their dollars that they're putting into it. And right now, we just waving a campaign of getting understanding and information into mainly the minority communities, how important it is to vote. Because past have shown that individuals in the black community and the other minority community feel like their vote don't matter. But, I heard something profoundly spoke the other day by a coworker. If a vote don't matter, why would they go so far out to try to take it?
Right, you've got a point there. And so if you would, Mr. Liners, explain more about Wisdom.
Sure. Wisdom is a statewide network of community organizing efforts. Expo is a major part of Wisdom. We also have many faith-based organizations. MICA here in Milwaukee is about a dozen groups like that around the state. We also have a project on the Menominee Indian Reservation called Menakanakim that's also part of the network. So together, we try to work on a variety of issues. We do a lot of work on criminal justice reform, but also work with immigration reform. We'll do a lot of work trying to promote more access to transit, some of those kinds of things. So we work on a variety of things around the state.
It's all so very important, and obviously collaboration plays a huge role in you being able to make a difference. So with us talking about voting, you guys believe there are thousands of former prisoners across the state who could be voting but don't know that they actually are able to vote at this point. So your goal is to register some 7,000 people before the fall election?
Yeah, that's our goal that we set, because out in the community you engage in, you find out that it's individuals, many of them that has been off paper for quite a few years, but yet still don't know they have the right to vote. And when you're going in the system, it's pushed in your mind continually that you can't vote. But coming out of the system, it's not expressed that you can vote after your papers is done. So you have thousands of individuals walking around that can affect the outcome of elections, don't even have the knowledge to know that they're able to vote at this time.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So right now in Wisconsin, individuals convicted of a felony are ineligible to vote while in prison, on parole, or on probation. Voting rights are automatically restored upon completion of all supervised release. So you had mentioned, Mr. Sylvester, that states like Florida actually make it where individuals can vote as long as they are not incarcerated. So you also have states like Virginia and most recently Kentucky that have passed that same legislation. If you would talk about some of the steps that you've taken thus far in order to kind of get this type of legislation passed in Wisconsin.
Sure. So there has been legislation proposed in Madison. It's out there. It's not moving very quickly at the moment. But I think this year the idea is to get it known and to get people to actually talk about it, to get people to start talking to candidates about where they stand on it. Because I think most people, when they hear about it, say, yeah, fair is fair. You know, if when you've finished your time incarcerated, you're home, you're paying taxes, you're participating in the community, you should be able to vote. So a lot of it is about awareness right now. And as Brother Jackson was saying, one of the things we're really trying to do is make sure that people who can vote actually know they can vote, and know that it's important for them to vote. So we're doing this thing called Relational Voter Program, where we're getting a whole lot of people, including even people in prison, to sign up and say, I'm going to kind of take on 10 of my friends, neighbors, relatives, that I'm going to make sure that they vote. You know, so we start to kind of build some of those connections, that people are reaching out to the people they already know.
Yeah.
To be sure people are really aware both of how important it is and of, you know, what the process is. Because you get a lot of folks, you know, they lost their right to vote when they were 17. They never voted. Now they're 42. They're afraid they don't know the secret passcode, or, you know, they don't know.
Yeah.
They're not going to know what to do.
Yeah.
So it's being sure that people are individually reaching out to folks to.
And that's why I think it's important to have all of you here today, especially Neil Albrecht, who, you know, is the executive director of the Milwaukee Election Commission, to really just pinpoint step by step all the things that need to be known in order to vote. And when you hear it spelled out at that moment, you realize it's really not that hard.
Right. And if I could just pick up one of the things that Neil was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That's how we really want to encourage people to participate in the early voting if they possibly can.
Oh, yeah.
So that if they have a complication with registering, if they have a complication with things, they can do it when there's not a huge crush of people. So
Yes.
to get people out in the spring and get people out in the early voting, so people can get themselves into the system, get used to it before there's kind of a big, you know, rush on
I agree
in
with you.
November.
Early voting again is February 3rd through February 14th. And Mr. Jackson, talk about the importance of people just having that conversation, because as he was saying, friends and family kind of helping spread information and really telling people this is what you need to do, here's where you need to go. How important is that?
Well, it's very important, because, you know, knowledge is key and it's power. You know, if you know something, then you can better make better decisions in it. And as we go out into the community and we're speaking with the individual, and, you know, the lowness in the community right now, and that doubt that anything make a difference and nothing will change, you know, we have to go out there and let them know there is hope in your vote, your voice.
Yeah.
A silent voice allows everything to continue on. But when you stand up and challenge it, then you make changes, because when you look at people like us in this community, we're here because of sacrifices of people like King, Malcolm X, you know, men that knew that they were putting their life on the line for the change for us to stand on today. So I look at it like one of the main things we point out to the legislators, this country was built on the thought of no taxation without representation. And yet the colonies broke away from England because of that very thing. And now today they're doing that to thousands of citizens in the country today, saying because we're on parole or we're on supervision, we can't vote. But yet you don't make rules and laws to exclude us from taxes. So, you know, it's very important that if I'm paying into the tax roll, if I'm paying housing taxes and vehicle taxes, then I should have a say on who represent that money.
All right, great way to wrap up today's show. Thank you both for being here. Sylvester Jackson, he's a community organizer for Expo, and David Liners, he's a director of Wisdom. For more information on the work they do, visit their websites at expowisconsin.org and wisdomwisconsin.org. Don't forget, primary election day in Milwaukee is coming up February 18th, and that is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, thank you for watching, and I do hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues in Milwaukee. Have a great day.